Hello, and thank you very much for listening. This is Lab 12, Special Senses. This is the last lab of Anatomy 1. So, special senses, we only have models for the eyes and the ears. So, let's spend some time going through some of these different features throughout the eye and the ear. So that lacrimal gland. This lacrimal gland, this is out on the lateral side of that eye. So it's on the outside top portion. This is what creates your tears. Your tears, as they create them, they travel down onto the eyeball. Every time you blink, it crosses over that eyeball to help keep that eye moist. So it allows you to be able to look and see. The iris is the colored portion of your eye. The pupil is that black spot. What that is an opening into the back of your eye. So images can focus back to the back of your eye so you can see and you're able to make out what you're actually looking at. The sclera is that white portion of your eye. Trying to see if there was anything else on here I needed. So if we start taking layers off of the eye, again, that sclera is the white portion. That pupil is that black part that allows light to go into the back of your eye. The iris is that colored. We have this dark layers, the next layer in that is known as the choroid. This choroid contains a lot of melanocytes, those cells that make pigmentation, make color. It helps to absorb the light that scatters when it hits the back of your eye. Then the next layer underneath that choroid is the retina. The retina is the layer that actually contains all those photoreceptors, those rods, those cones that help to pick up vision. And iris is that colored portion. The lens. The lens, it's kind of hard to see it in this picture, but here's part of this lens. It travels through here. It technically traveled all the way down here. But that lens is helping to focus the light into the back of your eye. We've got this muscle in your eye that is known as the ciliary body. And then at the end of the ciliary body, we have these little processes that come off. That is that ciliary process. They actually technically give off these zonular fibers that attach to the lens to help that lens change its shape. The last thing we have here is this vitreous humor. In the back portion of your eye, we have this fluid, kind of like this jelly almost, that is made of this vitreous humor. This vitreous humor stays there your entire life from when you're born. It's kind of helps to hold the shape of your eye. So here we can see, we take everything apart. We have that ciliary body, that ciliary muscle, with that ciliary processes that are coming off. You can see that retina very well. In the back of the retina, we have this little space. It's usually, like on these models, it's this little tiny indentation. The fovea centralis is the point of that indentation, and then the macula luda is the area around it. The fovea centralis is where there's only cones located, and it is your most precise vision that is found in that specific area. Here we can also see the optic disc. This optic disc here is where that optic nerve is coming into or exiting the eye. This is also known as that blind spot. It's that blind spot because there are no rods or cones found at that optic disc. So the clear part of the front of your eye is known as that cornea. So that cornea, if anybody who wears contacts, you put your contacts directly on that cornea. You have the iris, the pupil, you can see that ciliary muscle, that sclera, that white, the choroid in this picture is more blue, that optic nerve that comes out the back of the eye. That is sending that information to the back of your brain, to that occipital lobe where vision is processed. So here you can see that optic disc. You can see it pretty well laid out here. Then we have this macula luda. You can see it. It's a little bit darker in that area. And then in the middle of it is that fovea centralis. The whole red area is that retina. Then that choroid again is that middle layer. Now, if we look at this model for reference point, that is the bridge of your nose. Those are those nasal bones at the top of your nose. We have 6 muscles that are attached to your eye. These 6 muscles help you to move your eye. Rectus means straight. So muscles that are straight back are going to have that term rectus in it. So we have superior rectus across the top. We have lateral rectus on the outside. You can sort of see that medial rectus over here. And then from the back side, you can see that inferior rectus and a back down here. And then we have 2 oblique muscles. We have a superior oblique muscle that kind of travels along here. It goes through this little loop before it attaches to the eye. And then we have this inferior oblique that travels along the bottom of your eye. These are muscles that the rectus muscles will let you look straight up, straight down, straight medial or lateral. The oblique muscles let your eyeballs move in other directions, help them go up and out, up and in, down and in, down and out. So these muscles are helping you to be able to actually move your eyeball. I like this picture for the muscles because it gives this nice nose here to help you identify what side you're looking at, medial versus lateral. I don't use this one to ask muscles because it's not as nice to like identify what is what. But you can see this optic nerve. You can see this sclera well here. So let's look at the ciliary body, which is made up of that ciliary muscle and those ciliary processes that come off. Here you can see that lens that's made of that crystalline. You have that iris, that colored portion, and that cornea. In the front portion of our eye, we make a fluid that is called aqueous humor. This aqueous humor gets secreted out from the ciliary body. So it's coming from this area. It's going to travel out, come in front of the lens, and it'll fill this anterior chamber of the eye. From here, it's going to come back. It'll circle this way. It may go up the other way, and it's going to drain out through this sclerovenous sinus. Aqueous humor is constantly being made, constantly being drained out. The vitreous humor in that posterior segment of the eye, this is this fluid that is there lifelong. So in the anterior segment, we have an anterior chamber and a posterior chamber. The anterior chamber is in front of the iris. The posterior chamber is behind the iris in front of the lens. If that makes any sense. That is where that info is found. let's look at the ear. So the outside part of your ear is known as the auricle. This auricle, or pinna, as it's also listed as on your sheet, which is kind of this outside area, kind of works as a funnel. It's going to funnel sound into this external acoustic or auditory meatus or canal. So sound is going to come in here. It's going to hit this tympanic membrane. That tympanic membrane is also known as that eardrum. In the medical world, we call it that tympanic membrane. There's three little tiny bones that are attached between this, in this middle ear. This is not the best picture to see them. I've got some other ones that are much nicer. But in this middle ear, we have this pharyngotympanic tube, also known as that auditory tube. You may also know it as that eustachian tube. And I did not spell eustachian right. Let's try that again. Eustachian tube. There we go. All three of these are the same name for this tube. The inner ear, we have this cochlea. This cochlea is like a snail shell kind of thing. I've got some slides that show pictures that show it enlarged. We've got this vestibule. The vestibule is this area through here. This is helping with equilibrium and balance. And then we have these semicircular canals here. These semicircular canals, you don't need to identify each individual one. You just need to know that that is a semicircular canal. And then coming off is this vestibulocochlear nerve, cranial nerve 8. So let's come down. This is a drawing of these. You can see that tympanic membrane very well. On the other side of that tympanic membrane are those three little bones. We have the malleus, the incus, and the stapes. Malleus because it looks like a mallet, stapes because it was a stirrup. I don't remember what the incus was. Why somebody thought that's what it was, but they're extremely tiny little bones. They work to vibrate back and forth to help deliver sound into this cochlea that looks like a snail shell. This stapes is attached to this oval window, also known as the vestibular window. You just need to know it as that oval window. And then we have what is called this cochlear window. This cochlear window is also known as the round window. So here's a view from inside the middle ear to the inner ear. We have that tympanic membrane, malleus, incus, stapes. Here's that vestibule, all those different semicircular canals. Here's that vestibulocochlear nerve, that cochlea. I like this model when I'm masking the malleus, the incus, and the stapes because they're very easy to tell which is which. So now let's look at the cochlea. This is inside of this. The inside of that cochlea is divided up into, it's circular all the way through, but it's divided into these different chambers. We have the scala vestibuli and the scala tympani. These are both filled with perilymph, the type of fluid. We have the scala media. Sorry, there's another name for it. I know it is scala media, but cochlear duct, that's what it was. Cochlear duct. This cochlear duct is filled with endolymph. Within this cochlear duct, we have this tectoral membrane. This tectoral membrane is this area through here. It's kind of this gelatinous kind of material that sits on top of these hair cells. These little individual cells down here, there's several of them. They have little hairs that come off of them. Those are known as those hair cells. Those hair cells are what pick up this different pitches of the different sounds and allows that membrane to, or allows that cochlear portion of the vestibulocochlear nerve to transport information off to the brain to be transported. Then we have this basilar membrane. That basilar membrane is this bottom layer through here. Then that vestibular membrane, use a highlighter, vestibular membrane is this layer right there. So here's just a up close and personal. You can see that scala media, which is that cochlear duct. You see those hair cells, that basilar membrane, that tectoral membrane, that vestibular membrane. These are all helping to transmit sound into your ear. Allows you to identify different sounds. Perfect. That is everything on special senses. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, please let me know. Bye.